Welcome back to His Dull Videos, and today's video is about this being a tow car. It's a SsangYong Korando 2.2 ELX 2018. Now I have ended up with this car by accident, and I've got another video on this, so if you haven't already seen that one, it's just the general review of this, which has come about by the fact that I just find it quite a bland car, a car that I'd never really heard of, never see them about. So much so that I thought it might be interesting just to do a review of it, and as I'm so surprised that I'm owning one. But the thing that has surprised me about it is, as I've looked into it and driven it for a few weeks, is the fact that it would appear to be quite a capable tow car, which has surprised me because it's quite a small looking thing. And I have a single axle caravan which weighs just over 1,200 kilograms. And if it's fully laden, maximum permitted is 14, just over 14. I think it's 1404. And initially when I'd first saw this car, I didn't even think that it would tow the caravan. I just didn't enter my head. And then I've looked into it, and in the book in here, this will tow 16, I think it's 1660 kilograms. In fact, if you Google it, it says even more, but I'm going by the book. And that gives, if you're looking at the 85% tow weight that we use for tow car comparisons and what's advisable, then my caravan is within that 85% limit. So I thought, let's go on a road trip, let's try towing my caravan with this car. So that's what we're going to do today. Just in terms of what I currently use to tow my caravan, I've used a Freelander 2, which I think is the 2.2 diesel, and the 3 litre TD6 Range Rover, L322 Range Rover. Now obviously those cars just tow with ease anything the size of my caravan. So it's got some fairly stiff competition in terms of what I can compare it against. So it's going to be interesting to see how it fares in that regard. But I'm impressed in general with the car. The more I've had it a few weeks, the more weeks that have gone on, the more impressed I am with it as a general car. So I'm actually going into this quite hopeful. I've sort of started off when I first ended up, like I say, accidentally with this car. I was a bit down on it. I just thought, oh, you know, this'll do for now. But yeah, I'm quite hopeful that I'm going to be surprised by its abilities. So it'll be interesting to see. Now the first check really for it is going to be what I can get in it load space wise, because I've got a lot of stuff to take. So on this occasion it's just me and the dog that is going, but we're going for 3 days. I'll be taking my paddleboard, all the dog stuff, his bed, all his entourage of things, which include like a portable shower because he's a spaniel and he just gets muddy, and you know, I have to take plenty of dog towels, and that takes up quite a lot of stuff. All my clothes, obviously, video equipment, bedding, because this is the first time I've used the caravan since winter, since before Christmas. So when I store it, I take out the carpets, all the bedding. So there's actually a lot of stuff to go in, and I like to pack it all in the car just to keep the weight in that. Obviously, it's better. So I'm not really, the caravan doesn't weigh much more than its 1,200 kilograms. There's not much more stuff in there. I think I leave the TV in there and the gas bottles in there, but other than that there's not much more. So keeping all the weight in the car, so I need to get all that stuff and the dog in the car. So let's see first of all how it fares with that. Once we've done that, we'll be hitching it up and we'll be getting on the road. See you then. Right, so let's hitch up and go. Caravan is brought it last night, it's just on the road. Been a slow start a couple of times. When it's cold, it would seem. When I picked the caravan up last night, it was dark, so it was actually quite difficult to see the tow ball, but you can see it in the camera. So this should make this relatively... Oops, I'm a bit off there. Try that again. Ooh. It's a Grenadier. Very interesting. Not seen one of those up here before. Jury's still out on that one. I've not been in one. I just, yeah, not entirely convinced. I think that's on the ball, but usually I'm still a few centimetres off. And I'll come back and I'll try and adjust it a couple of centimetres, and I'll think that'll do it, and it's still off. Yep, about 3 inches off. So if I move it 3 inches, well, that has to be it. Ah, what do you know? For once it is. Right, just gone over the checklist. Got everything. Managed to put the hitch lock in the boot, which is so crammed I could barely get the hitch lock in the boot. Almost forgot my towel. Got all the dog's towels, but I haven't got a towel for myself. That's why it's important to always have a very detailed checklist. So we're going to be setting off, heading to Lake Districts, and I'll catch up with you a little bit further on the road once we've got out of all these windy streets and stuff. I've done a test on the MPG already, driving to the lakes when I've gone previously in this car, just without a caravan, so from a certain distance up to the M6. So I'm going to do a comparison to see how it compares, obviously. Away we go. The dog. I mustn't forget the dog. Come on in. There we go. Wait, get your nose out. I wasn't going to forget you, Bentley. Honestly. So as I said, I've got everything on the checklist, and I will see you on the road. Okay, so we've got all the little narrow, windy, slow roads out of the way. Just hit the A65. I've come from a slightly different angle than last time. I came from Freshfield when I had first did the trip for the average MPG. It's between there and the M6 that I've done it. So I've reset that now. I've made some allowances for roughly where I did it, just to, you know, I think it's good enough really. So we're at 26 at the minute. We'll see what, well, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look back at the video to see what it was before without the caravan, but I think it was about 41. So we'll see how it fares with that. Now on the way here, going through the 40-50 mile an hour speed limits, bumps and potholes and various other little bits and bats, I felt relatively confident with the car for towing. It does have quite a bit of feedback. I've noticed when you're going over the bumps, there's quite a bit of rise and fall, and the front end does seem to go a little bit on the light side, approaching roundabout, well, coming off at roundabouts. I noticed it's a little bit greasy, a little bit damp, the road surface, and the tyres at the front they're about 2.5 mil, and brand wise, not a brand I've heard of. So and the towing hitch is also a little bit on the low side, I think, so it might just be a little bit light at the front end because the traction control light has come on when I've been in first gear and trying to make some progress onto the roundabout on a couple of occasions. But all in all, you know, I'm relatively impressed. Like I say, the rise and fall is definitely more, and when you've got the undulations on a 60 mile an hour speed limit dual carriageway, you do just feel the caravan a little bit more than when I've been towing with the Freelander or the Range Rover. It's not exactly fair comparison, is it? I suppose they do have bigger footprints and beefier springs and air suspension and all the rest of it. So, but I think all things considered for what this car is, it's very good. I'm very impressed. looking at the actual car itself and the caravan, now that they're coupled together, and looking from a distance, I'll get a shot of it at some point. It doesn't look such a small car. I don't know, it just, when you see this car on its own, it looks a bit dinky, I think. So the idea of it towing a relatively big caravan, to me, was just where I first thought that this wouldn't really be able to pull it. But it doesn't look so bad now. It sort of actually quite suits it. Right, now we're just coming out of a 30 limit here. We're going to hit this 60 mile an hour speed limit, or national speed limit, sorry, it's not a 60 for me. But let's see how that pulls away from there. I don't want to be doing this too much because I don't want to kill my MPG, but it's and of course someone's pulling out in front of me now, so that's ruined that. That's ruined that test. But this stretch of the A65 is littered with, you know, going down to 30s, into 40s, 50s. So, but anyway, pulling away from there and getting up to a bit more of a reasonable speed, you know, no issues. It's got plenty of power. I'm quite impressed with the grunt of it. I don't really feel much difference to the Freelander in terms of its power. And there's a fair bit of stuff in here. I mean, I've literally crammed everything in, lots into the boot. Full tank of diesel, super diesel. Always like to put super diesel in when you can find it at a reasonable price, that is. Just gives it that little bit extra oomph, I feel. And you need it when you've got a caravan on the back, I think. And it's better for your engine, you know, a few additives in there, keeps it all clean, keeps the injectors good. That's my top tip, super diesel. Now, there's a lot of love for this car on Facebook. I have discovered since my first review of the car. I have been I found the UK Korando, not Korando, I think it's SsangYong, general SsangYong owners or enthusiasts club or whatever it is. And I posted a link to my video, and it actually got some really quite good reviews. People were supportive of it, which I was surprised at, really, because, as I say, I've come at my review of this car initially has been from a standpoint of, what is it? I don't really like it. It looks bland. It looks, I don't know, a little bit cheap. I don't like the logo. All sorts of things, and I've just dismissed this car. But I've been driving it for a number of weeks now, and this journey is another one where it has enhanced my attraction towards it, really. It's ultimately a stopgap car for me, and I don't envisage keeping it for now, but it's definitely, you know, it's raised my awareness of this brand, and I just don't think enough people know about this brand. Like I say, I've never heard of it. All my friends that I've spoken to, when I've said, oh, I've got this car, they're like, what? I've never heard of it. What is it? And again, you know, the ones who've seen it have been quite impressed with it, really. And for what you can match it up against money-wise, when I did in the review, I looked at against Auto Trader what you could get for the same sort of money. You're not going to get anything that'll tow as well as this. You know, they're lighter cars, they're smaller engines. So yeah, it's I'm impressed with it. I am definitely impressed with it. One thing that I did pick up a few comments from the owner's Facebook page. Parts availability and price does seem to be an issue. They seem to be quite highly priced and very difficult to get hold of. When people are taking it to the dealers, it seems to be that they're waiting weeks and weeks for parts, and therefore they can't. There are numerous occasions, it would seem, where people can't use their cars because they're just waiting for parts, which obviously is not ideal. But there is someone called Mark Larici seems to get a lot of mention on that Facebook page, and he's some oracle, it would seem, of acquiring parts, genuine parts, quickly and cheaply. So if you know where to go, and I've just told you, then perhaps that's not so much an issue. think they're also called KGM now and not SsangYong. I think they may have rebranded, but I think they're still the same badge. I'm still not keen on the badge. Back down into another 30 section now, and I've just gone through, just prior to that, quite a few twists and turns, and really positive. I've got to say, it handles well. I actually enjoy driving it. The undulations don't really seem to be causing a problem on this road. I mean, the A65 is, you know, it is a very twisty road. It makes me laugh, actually. There's about 3 cars have overtaken me in the last 5 miles. And then, of course, there's a tractor ahead. So they're now just all backed up, as I am, waiting for the tractor. You cannot really, it's just not, there's no point overtaking on this stretch of road. You don't gain anything, and it's not really that safe. Like, there's so many twists and turns to it. It's just not a great idea. There's my sensible head. I think it's this car that's just making me so sensible, because, as I've said in my previous review, I do think you have to be a very sensible person to own one of these. Very mature. I've got to say, the mirrors are good as well. Deep, and you can see a lot. You almost feel like I don't need the mirror extensions. I mean, obviously you do, but I don't know the depth that's giving. I've got to say, I think that's better than the what's on the Freelander and the Range Rover. There's a couple of things that I can't really test today because the wind is not that windy. I think it's under 10 miles an hour is the wind at the moment, so I can't really see how it performs in strong winds. Going by the rest of the journey, I don't think there'd be too many issues, though, to be honest, on that score. And the other thing is, a lot of the time when I'm on the lakes, I'm on the A590 going to Newby Bridge. Is quite a stretch uphill. It's very progressive and it's quite long. And I found in both of those cars, you can't really accelerate past 50. It's very laboured, I found, on both the cars. I mean, the Range Rover is a bit on the tired side. I think it's done about 150,000 miles. And I think the EGR valve might not be quite operating as it should. Just as a cyclist. But yeah, you know, both of them, it doesn't feel like if you wanted to accelerate and get a little bit further, it's just like, no, it's reached the limit. I don't know what the gradient is of that stretch of road, but I'd quite like to have seen how this performed on it as well and see if it was any better or worse. But anyway, that's not going to be one for today, I'm afraid. And I think it's probably quite an extreme hill. You're not going to encounter that many hills of that degree, I don't think, when you're heading around places. Right, I'm going to settle back into this journey now for the rest of it until I hit the M6, and then we'll have another look at the MPG. It has gone up a little bit now to 27.5, so see if we can get closer to that 40. See you in a bit. Right, so we've made it to the M6, and the MPG, average MPG to that point was 27.7. So not as good as I was actually hoping it would be. I hope we'd get a little bit more out of it than that, but it's still pretty good for a full car and a caravan on the back. So yeah, I'm relatively impressed with that. Final stretch of the journey now. One thing that I don't actually really ever see when I've looked at caravan reviews before, and I've got an opportunity to do it now. But we're on the M6, which is fairly quiet. I haven't really tested the brakes out to too much of a degree on this. They've been absolutely fine when they've been required. They've not felt overloaded or anything like that. So you know, I've been impressed really. But what I thought I'd do is, if seeing those mirrors, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything behind me. That one's not quite adjusted properly. But if I do an emergency stop, and let's just see how the how the brake, I'll make sure I'm in a straight line, how the brakes perform, how the chassis of the car performs with the weight of the caravan on the back. So we'll just get it up to 70 and as if I'm going to do that, and as if I'm doing 70, because that would be breaking the law. No, I was doing 60 miles an hour, and I am not stupid enough to try and do an emergency stop with the caravan on the back of a motorway. But I had you going, didn't I? Right, final stretch of the journey. I'll be arriving at the caravan park soon and unloading all this stuff and hopefully giving the dog a walk, and no doubt he's absolutely dying for a wee. So I will see you in a bit. Right, well, we've arrived in the Lake District. Really nice journey, really enjoyed it. I'll do a proper update later, but first I am battling sunset because the dog really needs a walk. Right, now I need to also get all this stuff. No, I'm not going to do that yet. I'll take him for a walk first. Speak to you in a bit. So when you are out with your caravan or caravanning, your car becomes a utilitarian truck, doesn't it? An adventure mobile that gets shoved full of all the stuff of the holiday, and you've got to take it to places, you know, in my case, not inaccessible, but sometimes grassy verges and things like that. So that's what we're about today. It's already had a paddleboard outing yesterday, which was good fun. Managed to get changed in and out of the wetsuit in the car mostly. I didn't get that on film, you'll be pleased to know. And, you know, I've got all the covers on the seats. That helps when you've got wet stuff that's flying around, wet dog. Boots nice and easily accessible. Good area to work from. It's like your workbench, isn't it, in some of these cases. So today we are parked just between Derwentwater and Catbells is just up there. And we're going to go for a hike. If you want to join me, it'll be about a minute of your time, about 3 hours of mine. I'm not all that good at knowing exactly where I am, but I do know that that one there is Catbells and that's Derwent. What else do you need to know? Right, well, we have made it back from up there. We didn't go to Catbells, we've done a circular which took 3 hours, and we ended up at Maiden Moor or Narrow Moor, Bull Crag. Those are the places that are shown on the OS map. Now in hindsight, I should have got to the top of Maiden Moor and just come back the way I came. OS maps, I followed a route which was a green dotted line, and there was no pathway whatsoever down that green dotted line, and there were no people either, so it's a bit disconcerting. However, I knew I was heading down towards the road, so I couldn't go far wrong, but there's no path and it's a little bit hairy in some points, but nevertheless we've made it back. Right, time to go to the pub. So this is my palatial caravan, a Sterling Eccles Emerald 2006, which might need a little bit of a wash, but it does everything that I need it to do. Cost me £4,000 back in 2000, I think it was 2017. So it's knocking on for 20 years old now, and still in really good order, really usable, not really had to spend much on it. Just thought I'd mention that in case you were interested. If you're watching a tow car video, I'm guessing you might be interested in caravans as well. Well, this is a true classic. But the car, the SsangYong, the Korando, I think suits this caravan very well, even though it's a bit on the old side. Looks wise, I've got some shots of it, reversing it expertly into the place where I have a nice view of Blencathra. Yeah, it's got a good, when you see them side by side as well, they're not out of proportion as I thought it would be. It's got a good stance about it, it's got a good haunch as the Korando. So yeah, as a tow car, I'm really impressed with it. It does everything it needs to do. I wouldn't have any qualms about taking it on any long distance trip with a caravan of this size. And this is, like I say, I think even if you went up to 1,500 kilograms weight caravan with that car, I think it would manage it absolutely fine. I'd have no qualms about that whatsoever. The only one thing I would say that I'd forgotten to mention, and even on the previous review video, was at night time, the headlights on dip beam are rubbish. They're like candles. So I don't know if there's any way to upgrade those. If I was keeping that car long term, I think I would have to do. They're fine when you stick on full beam, but then when you've got to dip it again, all of a sudden you're really limited as to what you can see. I'd say that's the only really major issue that I've got with that car. But practicality wise, it's a workhorse, it's a utilitarian, as it's proved on this little trip. Particularly with when I was out paddleboarding, it's not -4, it's about 4 degrees. So out on the water for a couple of hours, even in a wetsuit, you're getting cold hands. So once I'd managed to pack it all away, it's really quite welcoming to get in the car, stick on the heated seats, stick on the heated steering wheel, and such a comfort. So yeah, I really like that aspect of it. And when it comes to the paddleboard, you might not have seen me when I was packing it all away in the initial video before I set off. The way that you can manoeuvre the back seats was really beneficial, because my paddleboard it all goes down into a bit of a cube-shaped oblong bag that I like to keep right at the back of the boot. Now the back seats have normally got a rake on them, so when you're pushing that against there, you're losing a bit of space behind the back seats that you can't really get back. So to be able to basically make the back seats at 90 degrees, really useful for that, just to maximise that boot space and get a bit more out of it. So yeah, that's it really. My 3 days at Threlkeld Hall Caravan site are over. I need to hitch up and pack up. Thanks for coming along and watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed this little road trip. Over and out from the Lake District.